The alert on my phone isn't a notification, it's a countdown. 8 minutes past the hour, and I'm standing just outside the double doors of the Imperial Ballroom at the Four Seasons in Chicago. I smooth down the front of my Stella McCartney blazer, not because I care if it's wrinkled, but because the motion centers me. Precision is my brand. Being 8 minutes late to a gala hosting 200 of the most cutthroat institutional investors on the East Coast isn't poor time management, it's a power play. Julian taught me that. He used to call it commanding the room before you even enter it. Now, I suspect he just liked having a pupil. I push through the doors. The low hum of champagne-fueled optimism hits me first. Then, I see him. Julian is holding court near the crystal sculpture that cost more than most people's mortgages. He's got his arms slung around Sophia Reyes's waist low, possessive, his thumb hooked just above the swell of her hip. She's wearing a dress the color of old money and a smile that suggests she's already counted the votes. Everyone, Julian says, his voice cutting through the ambient noise with the ease of a man who expects silence. I'd like you to meet Sophia Reyes, my wife. Sophia has been instrumental in streamlining our Midwest expansion. She's the reason we're looking at a 15% efficiency increase next quarter. The word wife doesn't just land, it detonates in my chest. I stop walking. The room doesn't. Conversations continue. Glasses clink, but I hear nothing except the high-pitched whine of blood rushing in my ears. I look at Sophia's left hand. There it is, a platinum band set with a sapphire that catches the light like a shard of ice. It's not my Cartier. It's not the ring I designed with him in a booth at Harry Winston 5 years ago, when this marriage was still a strategic alliance we both pretended to believe in. Marcus appears at my elbow, his breath smelling faintly of mint and disapproval. That's not a mistake. He murmurs, his lips barely moving. He's doing this to erase you. He's testing the waters before the merger vote tomorrow. I don't blink. I don't flinch. I've spent a decade in boardrooms where a single twitch could cost me $1 billion. I step forward, my heels clicking against the marble in a steady rhythm. I extend my hand to Sophia, my expression neutral, my grip firm. How fortunate, I say, my voice cool and pitch to carry. I was just about to circulate the finalized term sheet for the $500 million Sinclair global merger. I assume you'll want to brief your wife in the capital structure and the voting rights attached to her new title. Julian? Sophia's smile tightens. She squeezes my fingers a fraction too hard. So lovely to finally meet you. Eleanor. Julian talks about you constantly as his business partner. It's refreshing to see the woman behind the spreadsheets. Behind? I tilt my head. Darling, I am the spreadsheet. You're just the decorative font he's trying out for the cover page. Julian's jaw tightens. He hates it when I use darling. It reminds him that I know exactly which buttons to press. Ellie, don't be pedantic. Sophia is joining us for the evening's festivities. It's a simple introduction. Simple? I let my hand drop. You introduced her as your wife to a room full of limited partners who have signed affidavits stating they're investing based on the stability of the Whitmore-Sinclair Union. In Delaware, that's not a simple introduction. Julian, it's a material misrepresentation. One of the older investors, a man named Henderson from Vanguard, clears his throat. Julian, we were under the impression that Eleanor here was the primary stakeholder in the logistics division. Is there a change in leadership we should be aware of before tomorrow's vote? Panic flashes in Julian's eyes, quick, gone, replaced by that practiced. Predatory charm, no change. Henderson, just a bit of fun. Eleanor takes these things far too seriously. As always, fun. I repeat. I turn to Henderson. Mr. Henderson, rest assured, the only thing changing tomorrow is the size of your returns. The rest is just noise designed to distract from the fact that my husband seems to have forgotten the definition of fiduciary duty. I walk away before he can respond. I head toward the bar. needing something stronger than champagne. The bourbon burns going down, a welcome heat against the ice spreading through my veins. By the time we're in the back of the Mercedes-Benz limo, the silence is its own kind of violence. Julian is scrolling through his emails on his phone, ignoring me. I watch the city lights blur past the tinted windows. You introduced her as your wife. I say, it's not an accusation. It's a statement of fact, a data point. He doesn't look up. It's a branding exercise. Ellie. Sophia's face tests better with a younger demographic. She's more relatable. Don't be so sensitive. Our marriage was never about public titles. It's about the bottom line. It's about public filings. I counter, my voice low. It's about tax codes. It's about the prenuptial agreement you had your lawyers draft, which specifically lists reputational damage as grounds for financial clawback. Did you forget that part while you were picking out matching rings? He finally looks at me, his eyes cold and flat in the dim light. You're overreacting. Sophia's just a warm body in a dress. You're the one with the cold heart. You always have been. At least she knows how to make me feel like a man. A man? I laugh. A short, sharp sound. You mean a client? Because from where I'm sitting, she's auditioning for a promotion. And you're too busy enjoying the view to notice she's reading from my script. He reaches across the seat, grabbing my wrist. His grip is tight enough to leave a mark. Watch yourself, Eleanor. Tomorrow is too big to let your hysterics derail it. You're my wife. Act like it. I wrench my arm free, rubbing the spot where his fingers dug in. I am acting. Julian. I've been acting for 5 years, but the show's over. Back at the peninsula. I don't go to our suite immediately. I stop in the lobby, pretending to check my messages while I watch him swipe his key card. He doesn't notice me. He's already on his phone. Texting. Probably Sophia. Probably arranging a meeting in room 1804, the same room number I saw on a crumpled room service receipt in the pocket of his Tom Ford tuxedo earlier tonight. I ride the elevator alone to my floor. I don't go to the bed. I sit at the desk, open my laptop, and pull up the prenup. I scan the clauses until I find it. Section 12. 4. Reputational harm. Any action by either party that results in significant negative publicity affecting the other party's business interests shall constitute a breach of this agreement, entitling the aggrieved party to a renegotiation of asset distribution. I close the document and open a new note on my phone. I type 3 words: project, divorce, commence. Then, I scroll back to the photo I took of that receipt. The peninsula, room 1804. 2 a.m. It's time-stamped for the night of my mother's funeral. While I was saying goodbye to the only person who ever loved me unconditionally, he was upstairs breaking the vows he only ever honored on paper. I don't cry. Crying is a luxury for women who have the time for it. I have a merger to cancel and a husband to dismantle. I pick up the hotel phone and dial Marcus's room. He answers on the second ring. Did he actually do it? Marcus asks, his voice rough with sleep. He did. I say. He introduced her as my replacement. Christ, what's the play? We pull the merger. I say, watching the cursor blink on my screen. We bury him in litigation. And then, Marcus, we burn the whole goddamn house down. I hang up before he can reply. I walk to the window and look out over the Chicago skyline. Somewhere in this city, Julian is probably with her right now, thinking he's won, thinking he's outsmarted the ice queen of Sinclair Global. But he forgot one thing. Queens don't play by the rules of kings. They change the game. I open my email and start drafting the withdrawal letter. By morning, Julian Whitmore is going to learn that the only thing more dangerous than a woman scorned is a woman who owns the ports, the contracts, and the fucking keys to the kingdom. And I'm just getting started. I don't sleep. Sleep is for people who aren't currently orchestrating a hostile takeover of their own life. At 5:47 a.m., I'm in the peninsula's business center, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like the static in my brain. I bypass the hotel Wi-Fi and tether my laptop to my private network. If Julian has any spyware on my devices, and I bet my stake in Sinclair Global he does, he's going to see a whole lot of nothing this morning. I draft an email to Denise Cho. Subject line, Lifestyle Audit, Priority Alpha. Denise isn't a private investigator. She's a forensic accountant who specializes in what the wealthy call marital discrepancies and what the rest of the world calls cheating. I met her 3 years ago during a proxy fight when a board member tried to hide his embezzlement behind a string of mistresses. Denise found the money trails in places a regular PI wouldn't think to look. Dry cleaning bills, dog groomers, and Spotify subscriptions. Denise, I type. I need a full audit on Julian Whitmore and Sophia Reyes. Credit cards, travel, memberships, crypto wallets, and any safety deposit boxes linked to either name. Cross-reference with Julian's calendar gaps. I want receipts, not assumptions. Invoice my personal trust. Move fast. I hit send and lean back in the stiff chair. My phone vibrates. Marcus, you're up early, he says, his tone dry. Or are we still operating on the assumption that sleep is for the weak? Sleep is for people who don't have a husband committing fraud in real time. I reply, I need you to pull the merger docs from the shared drive, make a copy, check the version history. I want to see if Julian made any unilateral changes in the last 48 hours. Already on it. Marcus says, and Ellie? I did some digging of my own last night after I hung up. Sophia Reyes has a PO. Box in Evanston registered under her maiden name. It's not listed on any HR forms. Good. Add it to Denise's list. And Marcus? Find out if she's been added to any of his corporate insurance policies. Life, health, dental, I don't care. If he's playing house, I want to know who's paying the mortgage. I hang up and head back to the suite. Julian is still in bed, sprawled on his stomach, the sheets tangled around his legs. He looks peaceful. It's nauseating. I open the closet and grab his tuxedo jacket from last night. I slide my hand into the inner pocket. Nothing. I check the other pockets. A monogrammed handkerchief, a gold lighter, and a folded slip of paper. It's a receipt from a jeweler on Oak Street. Vivid sapphire and diamond suite, paid in full. Dated yesterday, 5 hours before he introduced her as his wife. I pull out my phone and snap a photo. Then I place the receipt back exactly where I found it. I'm not ready for him to know I'm looking. Not yet. By noon, Denise's preliminary report lands in my inbox. It's a PDF titled Project Nightingale. Clever girl. I open it. The first page is a timeline. March 14th. Charge at Gibson Steakhouse. $487. 32. Matches Julian's calendar entry. Client dinner. No clients listed on expense report. April 2nd. 2-night stay at the Waldorf Astoria. Charge to corporate card. Calendar shows out of office. May 19th. Recurring monthly charge to S. Reyes, Unit 412. Identified as rent for a condo in the West Loop. I keep scrolling. There's a section on Sophia. Denise tracked her spending patterns. High-end lingerie from agent provocateur. A membership to a fertility clinic in the Gold Coast. A safety deposit box at a bank in Naperville. Paid for in cash 6 months ago. My stomach twists, but I push it down. I call Denise. Talk to me, I say when she picks up. The condo is the interesting part. Denise says, her voice crisp. It's leased under a shell company called Midwest Ventures, LLC. Guess who the registered agent is? Julian. Bingo. But here's the kicker. Sophia's been receiving deliveries there from a law firm on LaSalle Street. I ran the firm. They specialize in prenuptial agreements and estate planning for blended families. He's rewriting his will. I murmur. He's setting her up. Looks that way. And Ellie? There's a deposit of $250,000 made to her personal account 3 weeks ago. Wire transfer from an offshore account in the Caymans. The same account Whitmore Capital uses for its discretionary bonuses. He's laundering hush money through the company. I say, if I can prove that, it's not just a divorce. It's an SEC violation. You'll need more than a wire transfer. Denise warns. You'll need intent. You'll need a paper trail that links the money directly to his decision-making. I'll get it. I say, keep digging. I want every text, every email, every calendar invite, especially the ones he's deleted. I hang up and stare at the screen. The anger is there, but it's cold now. Focused. I open the cloud drive and navigate to the folder labeled Q4 Personal. Julian thinks I don't know the password. He's wrong. It's the date we closed the Ports of Newark deal. The day he realized I wasn't just a pretty face with a trust fund. I was the one keeping his ship afloat. Inside the folder, there's a subfolder named Archives. I click it. There are photos, dozens of them. Sophia in his shirts. Sophia in our bed. Sophia smiling at the camera with that same sapphire ring on her finger. I flip through them with clinical detachment until I find a video file. Timestamped October 12th, 11:47 p.m. It's the night of my mother's funeral. I remember coming home, exhausted, hollowed out. Julian wasn't there. He said he had a flight delay in Dallas. I believed him. I was grieving. I wanted to believe him. I press play. The video is shaky, taken from a phone propped on a nightstand. The room is bathed in amber light. I recognize the wallpaper. It's the Peninsula, room 1804. Julian's voice fills the speaker, low and thick with satisfaction. You're so much better than her. Sophomore. She's just a machine. You're real. Sophia's laugh, breathy and sycophantic. She doesn't know how to please you. I do. She knows how to make money. That's all she's ever been good for. But you're the future. Once this merger closes, once I have her ports locked down, I'm done playing house with the Ice Queen. What about the prenup? I've got it handled. Section 14. 3. I'll argue irreconcilable differences. She'll get a payout. Sure, but I'll have the infrastructure, and you'll have the title. Mrs. Whitmore. Sounds good, doesn't it? Mrs. Whitmore. Sophia repeats, and the hunger in her voice is a physical thing. I'll make you proud, Julian. I'll be everything she's not. The video ends. I close the laptop. My hands are steady. My breathing is even. But inside, something fractures. It's not the betrayal. I'd suspected that for months. It's the casual cruelty of it. The way he talks about me like I'm a line item on a balance sheet. Like my heart is a piece of hardware he can replace when it suits him. My phone rings. It's Julian. I answer on the third ring. My voice perfectly modulated. Ellie, where are you? We have a lunch with the Lazard guys in 20 minutes. I'm handling a personal matter. I say, reschedule. Tell them I'm tied up with the SEC. The SEC? What the hell are you talking about? Nothing for you to worry about. Darling, how's Sophia? Still enjoying the sapphire I picked out for her? Silence. Then, a sharp intake of breath. You went through my jacket. I did, and I saw the receipt. Beautiful choice, though I preferred the emerald for her complexion. But then, you never did have my eye for detail. You're making a mistake. He growls. If you think you can, I'm not thinking. Julian, I'm executing. And you should know I found the folder. Q4 Personal. Very creative. Though the video from October 12th? Poor lighting. You should fire your cinematographer. He swears. Loud and vicious. You're insane. You're fucking insane. Ellie. No. I say softly. I'm divorced. Metaphorically speaking. Legally. I'm about to become very rich. And you? You're about to become a cautionary tale. I hang up before he can respond. I don't block his number. Not yet. I want him to call. I want him to sweat. I want him to realize that the woman he spent 5 years underestimating just became the most dangerous person in his life. I text Marcus, found the evidence. Video. October 12th. Prepare the poison pill. We vote tomorrow. He replies instantly on it. Also, HR just updated the system. Sophia is listed as his emergency contact. Not you. Of course she is. He's not just replacing me, he's erasing me. Bit by bit. Signature by signature. Bedroom by bedroom. But he forgot one thing. You can't erase a woman who writes the code. You can't delete a queen who owns the server. I stand up, smooth my skirt, and look at my reflection in the darkened window. My eyes are hard. My mouth is a straight line. I look like a woman who's just declared war. And I have. I open the drawer of the hotel desk and take out the envelope I prepared last night. Inside is a single sheet of paper, a withdrawal notice for the $500 million merger. I've already signed it. All it needs is a date. I write tomorrow in neat, precise letters. Then I pick up the phone and call the concierge. I need a courier to deliver a package to Whitmore Capital's headquarters. Immediate priority. And I'll need a bottle of Macallan. Neat. Charge it to the room. I hang up and stare at the envelope. Outside, the city roars. Inside, the silence is absolute. Let him introduce her as his wife. Let him play house in the West Loop. Let him rewrite his will and buy her sapphires. Because tomorrow, I'm taking away his kingdom. And I'm going to do it with a smile on my face and a pen in my hand. The boardroom at Whitmore Capital smells like money and old leather. It's 8:59 a.m. I'm seated at the head of the mahogany table, my usual spot, with Marcus on my left and Denise's final report open on my iPad. Julian is across from me, tapping his Mont Blanc against his palm. He hasn't looked at me since he walked in. His jaw is tight, his suit is impeccable, and his ego is hemorrhaging. Good. Richard Whitmore, Julian's father and the board's chairman, clears his throat. Shall we begin? We have a merger to approve and a market that doesn't wait for personal dramas. Personal dramas? I echo, looking up. You mean the one where your son introduced his mistress as his wife to 200 limited partners last night? That drama? Julian's pen snaps. Ink splatters across the table. Eleanor, don't. Don't what? Julian? Don't state facts? Don't protect shareholder value? Or don't ruin your little charade before you could cash the check? Richard slams his hand down. Enough. This is a board meeting, not a therapy session. The merger vote is procedural. We've all reviewed the materials. Actually, Dad, we haven't. Julian cuts in. His voice smooth now, recovering. I've made a few revisions to the term sheet, minor adjustments to the executive compensation package post-merger. Marcus slides a printed copy across the table to me. I scan it. There it is, buried in Section 14. 3. Whitmore Capital retains sole discretion over all executive appointments following the effective date of the merger, including, but not limited to, the role of Chief Operating Officer, to be filled at the discretion of the Chief Executive Officer. Translation, he was going to fire me and install Sophia as co-CEO the second the ink dried. I laugh, not a giggle, a cold, sharp bark of amusement that echoes in the silent room. You've got to be kidding me. You're literally trying to codify your midlife crisis into a binding corporate contract. Julian leans forward, his eyes narrowed. It's called forward thinking. Ellie, Sophia has a fresh perspective, something this company desperately needs if it's going to survive the next decade. Fresh perspective? I tap the paper. You mean the perspective of someone who doesn't understand that the ports in Newark and Savannah are the only reason your stock price isn't in the basement? Or the perspective of someone who thinks a fertility clinic membership is a legitimate business expense? Richard's face pales. What did you just say? Ask your son, I say, turning the iPad toward him. I swipe to the page in Denise's report detailing the West Loop condo, the offshore transfers, and the recurring payments to the Gold Coast Fertility Center. While I was burying my mother, he was building a nursery with my money, with company money. Julian stands up, his chair screeching backward. This is slander. You're out of line. Eleanor. Am I? I stand too. Slowly. I pick up the remote for the projector and click. The screen at the end of the room lights up with the video from October 12th. The audio fills the room, Julian's voice, Sophia's laugh, the rustle of sheets. I let it play for 10 seconds before shutting it off. The silence that follows is deafening. Richard looks like he's been punched. Two of the independent directors, Henderson and Liu, exchange glances. Marcus is typing furiously on his laptop, his expression grimly satisfied. That, Richard says, his voice trembling, is a private matter. It ceased being private when he used a corporate apartment for it. I counter. When he charged the jewelry to a company card. When he introduced her as his wife to investors whose capital is contingent on the stability of this merger. Under Delaware General Corporation law, that's a material adverse effect. It gives me grounds to withdraw. Julian points a finger at me, his hand shaking. You wouldn't dare. You'd destroy your own legacy. My legacy isn't tied to a lying, cheating coward who thinks with his dick instead of his PL. I say, and for the record, I already did. I nod to Marcus. He hits a button on his laptop. The printer in the corner whirs to life, spitting out copies of the withdrawal notice I drafted at the hotel. Marcus distributes them. Each page is stamped with the Sinclair Global seal, effective immediately. I read aloud. Sinclair Global is withdrawing from the proposed $500 million merger with Whitmore Capital. Furthermore, due to breaches of fiduciary duty and reputational damage as outlined in Section 12.4 of our prenuptial agreement, I am initiating legal proceedings to reclaim my full stake in all jointly held assets. Plus dommage. Richard shoots to his feet. You can't do this. This is a hostile act. It's treason against this family. Treason? I smile, and it doesn't reach my eyes. Richard, I'm not your family. I'm your worst investment, and I'm cashing out. Julian rounds the table, his face inches from mine. You're doing this because you're jealous, because you could never give me what she gives me, because you're a cold, barren, calculating bitch who doesn't know the first thing about being a wife. I don't flinch. I don't raise my voice. I lean in, lowering my tone so only he can hear. I'm doing this because I'm the only person in this room who understands that loyalty is a currency, and you just went bankrupt. You want to talk about Barron? Let's talk about the Cayman account. Julian, the one you used to pay Sophia's rent, the one that's also linked to 3 separate SEC investigations I've quietly initiated this morning. You're not just losing a wife, you're losing your freedom. His eyes widen. For the first time in 5 years. He looks genuinely afraid. You wouldn't. He whispers. I already did. I say, the U.S. Attorney's Office has a copy of the wire transfers. So does the Wall Street Journal. Expect a call from them before lunch. I gather my things, iPad, pen, the withdrawal notices, and walk toward the door. Marcus falls into step beside me. Ellie. Julian calls out, his voice cracking. Please, we can fix this. We can talk. I pause at the threshold. I don't look back. We're not married anymore. Julian, we're just 2 parties in a very expensive lawsuit. And I always win. I step into the hallway. The doors swing shut behind me, muffling the sound of Richard shouting and Julian's choked silence. Marcus lets out a long breath. Christ, he says. You just vaporized $500 million and his entire career in under 10 minutes. He vaporized it himself. I reply, I just provided the match. My phone buzzes. A text from Denise. Wire traced. SEC has opened a formal inquiry. You're in the clear. He's not. Another text. This one from an unknown number. I open it. It's Sophia. You think you won? He'll come back to me. They always do. I delete it without replying. Then I block the number. We step into the elevator. Marcus hits the button for the garage. What's the play now? Sinclair Global goes solo? Sinclair Global goes global. I correct. We accelerate the European expansion. We buy the ports he was salivating over. And then, Marcus, we make sure every headhunter in New York knows that Julian Whitmore is radioactive. The elevator doors open. My car is waiting. The black Bentley I bought with my own money, registered solely in my name. I slide into the driver's seat. Marcus gets in the passenger side. One more thing. I say, starting the engine. Have legal draft the divorce papers. I want full ownership of the Peninsula Suite. And I want it by the end of the week. Done. Marcus says. He pauses. You okay? I glance at him. For a second, the mask slips. The anger, the adrenaline, it all drains away, leaving a hollow ache I refuse to acknowledge. I'm fine. I lie. I'm just getting started. I pull out of the garage and into the Chicago sunlight. Behind me, Whitmore Capital is already burning. Ahead of me, the road is clear. I press harder on the gas. Let him explain this to the board. Let him explain it to the SEC. Let him explain it to Sophia when the money stops flowing and the doors of every club in the city slam shut in his face. The Ice Queen didn't just melt. She shattered. And now, she's rebuilding herself from the ground up, colder, sharper, and completely untouchable. The merger is dead. Long live the Queen. The Ice Queen is melting, and she's going to drown him in the flood. The deposition room smells like reheated Starbucks and expensive cologne. It's a glass box on the 38th floor of a law firm that bills by the syllable. I'm seated at a mahogany table that probably costs more than most people's cars, facing Julian and his legal team. His lead counsel, Robert Calder, a man whose hairline recedes faster than his ethics, adjusts his glasses and flips open a leather binder. Ms. Sinclair, Calder begins, his tone dripping with faux civility. Do you deny that your decision to withdraw from the Whitmore merger was motivated by personal animus rather than legitimate business concerns? I don't look at Julian. I keep my eyes on Calder. Animus? No. Strategic necessity? Yes. My husband introduced his mistress as his wife to institutional investors. That's not a personal slight. Mr. Calder, that's securities fraud waiting to happen. Under Delaware law, that's a material adverse effect. I was protecting my assets. Protecting your assets, Julian mutters, loud enough to carry. You mean protecting your pride. I finally glance at him. He looks like hell, hollow-eyed, jowls sagging, his custom suit hanging loose on his frame. The mighty Julian Whitmore, brought low by a prenup and a woman who stopped taking his calls. No, Julian, I say evenly. I mean protecting $500 million of Sinclair capital from being funneled into your mistress's fertility treatments and her condo in the West Loop. Shall we discuss the wire transfer from the Cayman account? The one dated October 10th, 2 days before my mother's funeral? Richard Whitmore, seated beside his son, makes a choke sound. Julian's face flushes a mottled red. Calder holds up a hand. Objection. Relevance. Relevance? I lean forward. It's relevant because that money was diverted from Whitmore Capital's discretionary fund. It's relevant because it proves a pattern of deceit that directly impacts the valuation of the marital estate. And it's relevant because your client, Mr. Calder, is about to be sanctioned by the bar for failing to disclose a conflict of interest involving his brother-in-law's accounting firm, the same firm that audited those offshore transfers. Calder's face pales. Julian slams his hand on the table. You're a vindictive, cold-blooded bitch. You're enjoying this. I'm enjoying the silence. I reply, the silence of a boardroom that isn't laughing at your jokes anymore. The silence of a stock ticker that's dropping 3 points every time your name trends on Bloomberg. And the silence of your mistress, who hasn't returned her texts since the SEC raided your office. Julian lunges halfway across the table before his father grabs his arm. She's lying. Julian shouts. Sophia would never. Sophia would, and she did. I interrupt. I slide a printed text message across the table. It's from Sophia to Julian. Time-stamped 11:17 p.m. last night. Stop calling me. I'm not getting dragged into your bankruptcy. I have a new opportunity in Miami. Lose my number. Richard reads it and lets go of his son's arm like it's on fire. Julian stares at the message, his mouth opening and closing. For a second, the mask slips. He looks less like a CEO and more like a man who just realized the ladder he climbed was leaning against the wrong wall. She's just upset. Julian whispers. She doesn't mean it. She means it, I say, because, unlike you, she understands that loyalty is transactional. And right now, your transaction is worthless. Calder clears his throat, scrambling to regain control. Ms. Sinclair, we're here to discuss the dissolution of the marriage, not the state of Mr. Whitmore's personal relationships. Regarding the prenuptial agreement, the prenup is ironclad. I cut in. Page 22. Paragraph 4. Infidelity resulting in reputational harm entitles the aggrieved party to 40% of all separately held assets. I've already instructed my legal team to initiate the transfer of your shares in the Atlanta Logistics Hub, your vacation home in Aspen, and the contents of Safety Deposit Box 4821 at First National Bank of Naperville, the one you think I don't know about. Julian's head snaps up. How did you? I know everything. Julian, I say softly, I know about the fake consulting contracts you used to launder money for Sophia. I know about the meeting you had with the private equity vultures who want to dismantle Whitmore Capital piece by piece. And I know about the email you sent to the board last night, trying to throw me under the bus for the merger collapse. It's pathetic. You're not a titan of industry. You're a mid-level manager with a god complex and a mistress who upgraded her exit strategy. Richard stands abruptly. This is enough. Julian, control yourself. Ms. Sinclair, we'll agree to the terms. 40%, but we want this settled quietly. No more leaks to the press. Quietly? I smile. Richard, the Wall Street journalies already drafting their obituary for Whitmore Capital. The only quiet part left is how quickly you're going to sign the papers before the SEC freezes your remaining assets. I stand, gathering my documents. Marcus opens the door for me. As I pass Julian, he grabs my wrist. His grip is weak, desperate. Ellie, please, don't do this. I'll change. I'll fix it. I look down at his hand, then back at his face. You can't fix what you never understood. Julian, you thought I was the ice, but I was the foundation, and you just built your house on a sinkhole. I pull my wrist free and walk out. The hallway is quiet. Marcus falls into step beside me. That was brutal, he says, even for you. Brutal is letting him think he had a chance. I reply, he needed to see the numbers. The real ones. The ones that don't include me. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. I open it. It's Sophia. He told me you were nothing. Just a cold, calculating bitch who couldn't give him a family. But he's crying now. Over you. Isn't that ironic? I stare at the message. For a moment, the hollow ache in my chest expands. I think about the nights I stayed late at the office, telling myself Julian understood. I think about the way he'd hold me after a bad earnings call, murmuring that we were a team. I think about the lie of it, the years of believing that being useful was the same as being loved. Then I delete the text. I block the number, and I keep walking. What's next? Marcus asks. Next, we finalize the divorce. Then, we launch Sinclair Global as a standalone entity. And then, Marcus, we buy the ports he was salivating over. At a discount. Of course. Of course. Marcus says, a grin tugging at his lips. What about the press? Vanity Fairies sniffing around. They want the Ice Queen side of the story. Tell them no comment. I say, and then leak the story about the fertility clinic. Let them print it. Let the world see what he was really building behind my back. We step into the elevator. The doors slide shut, sealing us in silence. I watch the numbers climb. 38, 39, 40. The higher we go, the lighter I feel. You okay? Marcus asks again, softer this time. I meet his gaze. For the first time in months. The mask doesn't feel heavy. I'm better than okay. I say, I'm free. The elevator dings. The doors open to the penthouse suite. I walk to the window and look out over the city. Somewhere below, Julian is probably drowning in paperwork and regret. Sophia is booking a flight to Miami. And Richard is realizing that the empire he built is crumbling because he taught his son to value appearances over substance. I turn away from the window. I have a company to run, a legacy to rebuild, and a life to live that doesn't revolve around a man who never deserved me. The dissolution is complete. The reconstruction begins now. And this time, I'm not building a marriage. I'm building an empire. The ticker on the wall of my new trading floor doesn't lie. Sinclair Global is up 12% this week. Whitmore Capital is down 41%. The numbers are clean, unambiguous, and deeply satisfying. I'm standing in the glass-walled corner office of our new headquarters in Hudson Yards, watching the sun bleed over the Hudson. My name is on the door, just Sinclair, no Ethan. No remnants of a marriage that was always a transaction. Marcus walks in carrying 2 tumblers of Macallan. He hands me one. To the woman who didn't need a husband to win. He says, clinking his glass against mine. To the woman who realized the merger was never the goal. I reply, taking a slow sip. Freedom was. He grins. Speaking of mergers or lack thereof, the Journal just ran the final obituary on Whitmore Capital. They're being delisted from the NYSE next Friday. Voluntary liquidation. Voluntary. I muse. That's a generous way of saying forced into bankruptcy by your own stupidity. They're saying Julian's looking for a strategic advisor role in Boise. Marcus adds, scrolling through his phone. Something in agricultural logistics. Fitting, isn't it? From the penthouse to potatoes. I don't smile. I stopped wasting energy on Julian's downfall months ago. Boise. Good. Far from any major ports. Far from any boardrooms that matter. Did he sell the Aspen Place? Last week. To a hedge fund manager from Singapore. Netted him maybe 30 cents on the dollar after the liens and the legal fees. Oh, and Sophia. I arch an eyebrow. What about the woman who upgraded her exit strategy? She's in Miami. Last seen at a club in South Beach with a tech bro from a Series B startup. Rumor is she tried to sue Julian for emotional distress and promised support. The judge laughed her out of the courtroom. She's currently blocked from accessing any of the offshore accounts. Turns out, Julian's brother-in-law's accounting firm didn't just have a conflict of interest. They cooked the books. Both of them are under federal investigation now. Karma's a slow audit, but the penalties are steep. I set my glass down and turn back to the window. 6 months ago, I was canceling a $500 million merger and drafting divorce papers in a hotel room. Today, I'm signing contracts that make that merger look like a rounding error. My phone vibrates. An unknown number. I almost ignore it, but something makes me glance at the screen. I still think about you, about us, the way it was before the business, before the coldness. Come back. I'll fix it. G. I stare at the text. Not a single mention of the lies. Not a word about Sophia, or the video, or the Cayman accounts. Just a nostalgic rewrite of a history that never existed. The arrogance of it is almost impressive. I don't reply. I don't scream. I don't rage. I simply block the number. Then, I delete the thread. It feels less like an ending and more like emptying the trash on a cluttered hard drive. Marcus watches me. Julian? A ghost. I say. And ghosts don't get responses. He nods. Understanding. Legal finalized the acquisition of the Port of Oakland this morning. We now control 30% of the West Coast freight volume. You've officially eclipsed your father's legacy. My father's legacy was built on alliances. I say, mine is built on independence. Speaking of which, schedule a call with the union reps in Long Beach. I want their input on the automation rollout. And tell PR to prep a statement about our new apprenticeship program. We're not just moving cargo. Marcus, we're moving people. Yes. Now, he says, mock saluting. He pauses at the door. You ever wonder what it would have been like if he'd just been honest? If he'd treated you like a partner instead of a stepping stone? I consider the question. For a long time, it would have gutted me. Now, it's just a hypothetical. If he'd been honest, I wouldn't be standing here. I say, I'd still be in his shadow, polishing his ego while he polished Sophia's ring. His dishonesty wasn't a failure of character, Marcus. It was a gift. It forced me to stop waiting for permission to lead. Marcus smiles, a rare, genuine one. The Ice Queen melts, and out steps the Empress. The Empress doesn't melt. I correct. She consolidates. Close the door on your way out. He leaves. I'm alone again. But the silence isn't empty. It's full of potential. I walk to the desk, a sleek, minimalist piece of walnut and steel, and open the top drawer. Inside, wrapped in velvet, is the sapphire ring Julian gave Sophia. I found it in the safe deposit box during the asset seizure. I kept it not as a memento, but as a reminder of what happens when you confuse possession with partnership, of what happens when you underestimate a woman who knows the difference between a balance sheet and a soul. I close the drawer. My computer pings. An email from the head of MA at Goldman. They want to discuss a joint venture in Vietnam. Another ping, a calendar alert for a gala benefiting women in STEM. I'm the keynote speaker. I look at the skyline. No husband. No merier. No lies. Just the city sprawling beneath me. A grid of opportunities one intend to claim one by one. I am no one's wife. No one's mistress. No one's backup plan. I am Eleanor Sinclair. And the only merger I care about now is the one between my vision and reality. I pick up the phone and dial my assistant. Get me Henderson at Vanguard. I want to discuss increasing our stake in their infrastructure fund and move the Long Beach meeting to Thursday. I'll be in D.C. on Wednesday testifying before the Commerce Committee. I hang up. The city lights blink back at me. 1,000 points of light in a world I've remade in my own image. The prenup is history. The divorce is final. The empire is mine. And for the first time in my adult life, the only name I answer to is my own.